I was born in 1924, January the 21st, in Southampton, a town I love very much. And as my parents said, please don't sell the house. I promised I wouldn't. This is perhaps a bit strange. I think of the two, I probably loved my mother more than my father. I was closer to my mother than my father. When my father died, I cried buckets, but not when my mother died. Perhaps I felt a bit guilty at not loving my father as much as I should have done, and didn't feel guilty because I'd done everything I possibly could for my mother. That may well be it. About 9 months before my father died, I took him to Spain for a holiday. I sort of balked at it a little bit because he was a very good man, but he always had to be the governor. And it would be very difficult, I thought, taking a man around Spain when I know it quite well and he doesn't know it at all. And he's got to be the captain of the ship, he's got to be the governor. But he was all right, and I was very glad that I took him. He died 9 months afterwards, and we had a great time. Regarding the writing of a show, I always have, I don't now because I'm being interviewed, but I normally have a pocket here or somewhere with a pencil and a piece of paper. And I travel around quite a bit, and sometimes perhaps in a French restaurant, and I get an idea, and I get a little notebook out, and I start writing. And the service usually improves, because the waiter thinks that I'm perhaps Egon Rene or somebody, writing up about the service in the restaurant. And if I don't have a bit of paper with me, sometimes I write on a paper napkin. I have been known to send things from abroad written on the white piece of paper that contains the shirt. When it comes back from the laundry, you tear the cellophane off and there's enough there for a sketch. There are those that say, oh, he's a recluse. They should see me reclusing in the south of France at the Palm Beach Casino with the lovely dancers down there. But you have to be on your own to write. You cannot write if you're in a crowd of people. Writing is not necessarily lonely, but you've got to be on your own to mull it over, work it out. So, Nicky, my hand's gone again now. The pains are coming back.
Oh, no.
Then we tranquilise us of gum. So I left school and came here to Eastleigh to work at Woolworths. My dad said it was a good firm to work for because people who got on at Woolworths didn't get on because they were somebody's brother-in-law, but because they helped to boost the profits. So I came here, there was a nice little manager, Mr. Dean, 24 girls, and me. Whoopie-woe, have me creamy milky-woe. The cry of the milkman. Yes, when I left Woolworths, I went on the milk round. I worked for Harry Hand's Dairies, which was situated somewhere in this area here. And this is the market street that I used to gallop down on my milk cart with all the empties in. And I was 16 years old, and of course I thought I was driving the stagecoach into Dodge City. Teddington is very villagey, small-towny. And you get to know everybody in the shops, and after a while, nobody says, oh, that's Benny. They say, how you going on, Mr. I said, fine, Tara, and I'll have a packet of this and a packet of that. And you're accepted as one of them. I'll just have my usual Times and the Herald Tribune.
And your Mayfair and your men only have arrived for you.
Ooh, that's cut. That's nice. Cut! My grandfather, my father's father, loved the music hall, loved the theatre. And if we were very good children, about once a month, he would take us to the Palace Theatre. And I would go and see these shows, and there'd be the principal comedian, who was always billed as the star comedian. He never was a star, but he had top billing. It was Fred Fosdyke in Don't Be Cheeky with, and there was always a troupe of girls, anything between about 6 and 16. There was a straight man who usually doubled baritone. There was a soubrette who played the French maid. And there was an older comedian and so on. But the comedian used to come on, he used to get more applause than anybody else. He was always surrounded by pretty dancing ladies, and the audience loved him. The fat women in the audience would go, oh, did you, oh, what he said, oh, isn't it awful, oh, and applaud. And I thought, hey, he must get more money than anybody else because he's got top billing, surrounded by beautiful girls, everybody loves him. That's for me. Dearly beloved brethren, we are gathered here tonight to make money. And by the looks of things, we won't make very much. I shall not keep you too long. I know you want to get home to your televisions. It's a lovely programme tonight. It's Tales of the Unexpected. It's about Jim buying a round of drinks. It's not bad at all, but this has become my local, and it is almost exactly 2 years that I first popped in here to get an estimate for a gin and lime, and I remember I finished up with a bottle of the house white wine. It's a sort of cross between Moselle and Hock. It's called Muck. And so then Jim said, do you like cocktails? And I said, yes, Jim, I do. I do like cocktails. So he told me one. He sold me one. Sorry, he sold me one. Sold me one. Yes, a little hush, please, little hush, because I'm very proud and happy to present cheques for at least £1,000 to the Guide Dogs Association from everybody in the pub. Yes. Money, it's nice to have, but it doesn't mean a great deal to me. You can only wear one shirt at a time, one pair of trousers at a time. You only eat one meal at a time. If I pop over to Paris, which I do occasionally, and I've got a lot of money with me, what am I going to do with it? I can stay at a nice hotel, I can go to the Olympia or the Bobino Music Hall and see a show. The most I can pay is about £20 for a seat. I'm on a permanent diet. I can't dine at Maxim's every night, much as I'd love to. Not because of the money, but because of this that travels around with me. And you can go to a nightclub and get rooked by a hostess if you want to. But too much of that ain't good for you. A stand-up comedian really is nude up there. You know, you take your life into your... It's walking a tightrope. You're on your own. There's nobody else on there with you, which is why I don't very often do sort of stand-up stuff. I mean, outside of being on television. On television, it's much more comfortable. You can always say, we'll go again, without him. I was out of work. So for 7 weeks, I sat in the garden of the place where I was in digs. And it was summertime, and I just wrote sketches for television. I thought, television's growing, they can't keep going on doing the same act. Comics are going to need different material. So I thought, as I wasn't doing terribly well as a performer, as a comic, I thought I'd try my hand at writing. So for 7 weeks, I wrote a lot of sketches. I went in to see that jolly nice Ronnie Waldman, and who was head of Light Entertainment, and he said, what's all this about? And I said, well, look, there's a lot of sketches there. I think television's going to need material, and I don't want you to think I've chosen the best sketch and put it on the top. If you like, tell me, I'll flip through. You say stop, and I'll take that sketch out, and you can read that one. And he said, all right, go on, flip through. All right, stop. Take it out. I took it out, and I handed it to him. He said, no, work it for me. So I did these sketches for him. I was only there about half an hour, I suppose. And he said, who do you think this material would suit? And I thought, shall I say Arthur Askey, or who shall I say? And I said, well, who do you think they would suit? And he said, I think they'd suit you. And I had my own show. There are new jokes and there are new ideas, not that many coming out, but there is a dustbin full of jokes that have been told over the years. There aren't that many new jokes or that many new ideas. And I sometimes can admire a comic, even though I know every joke he's told. And I do know most of them before they tell them. Because he's gone to the dustbin and he's put them in it's like a jigsaw puzzle. He's taken that one and that one and that one and linked them together with perhaps a couple of new ones in between. And you could admire them constructing it. You don't write with a pen, you write with your head first. And if I get an idea, I always jot it down on a bit of paper because I know that will then be transferred to some books that I've got. And on one side of the page is V for visual, and the other side is the spoken word. So I know when I go through the book, I keep looking this side. You cannot possibly do it sort of mathematically or the way they would do things in an office. And when I do get the idea, I mull it around in my mind for an awfully long time. When I first found out the show was successful, I was absolutely delighted. I was thrilled because America was like the mecca of show business to me. I was brought up as a little child, Saturday afternoon, the cinema, Wednesday night with Mum and Dad if I was lucky, and was sitting there sixpence the dark. It was a big deal to me. So places like Hollywood and New York, well, you know, were sort of places you only dream about. Oh, j'aime Paris beaucoup, j'aime demoiselles de Paris. Impersonations and impressions. Yes, I do them, but I don't think I approach them the way someone like Mike Yarwood would, or Edward would. I know the spell, I just don't know when to stop. But I think Mike will try and perfect the impression. But with me, I don't. I'm quite happy that I come through, and it's an impression rather than an impersonation or an imitation. It's an impression of the character or the person that I'm impersonating. If you do it very accurately, for example, if you do a Terry Wogan so good that people can hardly tell the difference between what I'm doing and Terry Wogan, I would say, well, why not book Terry Wogan? Because he's much cheaper. I've been very influenced by Charlie Chaplin, as I said before. I admire him tremendously. I think he's the one and only genius in my book. I admire Buster Keaton, Harry Langdon, Chester Conklin, Charlie Chase, Laurel and Hardy, the silent comics and the others. You a little bit rubs off on you, and I'm interested in comedy, and I watch quite a lot of television, and as I say, it rubs off on you. Living in Southampton and living in the family home, it's still the family home. And when I'm down there, every time I go down, I take flowers up to my parents' grave. And this will give you a little insight into what they're like. I can hear them talking. Because when I put the flowers on, I can hear Mum saying, "You spent £12 on flowers, you want your brains testing. You've got more money than sense you have." And Dad always got annoyed when we did things if we weren't doing it properly. He used to say, "Give us it here, I'll do it. You've got no idea, that's all you've got to do." And he'd show how easy it was, because we were fumbling with it. And when I'm breaking the stems at the base of the flowers so they suck up the water better, I could hear him say, "Oh, give it to me, I'll do it." Off to Australia cried, Mum cried. So I took Mum and Dad to lunch at Lyons, and we went to the matinee performance at the Palladium and saw Sophie Tucker. And I thought that'd cheer him up a little bit.